Three, two, one. Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nixie coming back with another bullseye tutorial today on the channel. So I want to show you guys how I like to use the NEVE 2254 on the Master Fader. Let's not waste no time. Let's get to listening to this and dropping these dreams ASAP. Let go right now.
I know you tired of the lies, the excuses. The truth is the love that you giving him, he abuses. Es tu prometido y solamente te pido que no recibas a pedido de ese caso perdido. He online flexing to get attention, he thirsting. We offline sexing another session with no protection. Ma yo quiero probarte and my intention is yo poder un día robarte.
Okay, so you guys get an understanding of what we're working with today. So if you guys do like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe as well. If you guys do like these videos, don't forget to check out the Patreon, where we drop those super secret exclusive gems. If you guys like these videos, check out the Patreon. Even more game there, and y'all see what I be doing already. Okay, so let's give a little bit of background history on something like the NEVE 2254. I think that bit is very, very under the radar, very low key, because you know this was a situation where we all know about the NEVE 1073, the holy grail preamp of music, pretty much a very timeless piece, Rupert Neve, but also located within inside of the the first kind of consoles that Rupert Neve worked on as well sometimes was the NEVE 2254. So this is kind of like the daddy of the NEVE 33609, which is another great bus compressor we will talk about in another video. So it's kind of interesting because I feel like with this compressor, there's kind of like a serial compression type of thing going on where it says limiter and compressor, and oftentimes those two words go hand in hand, right? Because a limiter is a compressor. It just has a higher ratio, and it pretty much is like a brick wall. It's kind of like a situation where, you know what I mean, the compressor is kind of doing that first layer of work. It's kind of doing the initial part on the assembly line. It's kind of getting the parts and the pieces together, and the limiter is kind of like the last bang of the hammer that's building the product, which is the finished vocal kind of. So that was very important in broadcast because it was always a situation where people are talking on the radio. You want to condense the signal when you're on the radio because it can go farther on the antenna lines and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But the limiter was a great way of making sure none of the overshoots, kind of, work. So it's kind of like a stopgap limiter pretty much, it's kind of like, hey buddy, I got your back. You take care of them first peaks, you take care of those, that first, type of, dynamics and the wide range of volume of the human vocal, and I got your back here just in case you need anything. That's kind of like what the limiter is doing. Very interesting unit, the NEVE 2254. And nowadays we actually have two plugins I want to show, the Waves V Comp as well as the UAD NEVE 2254. So I actually want to start off with the NEVE 2254. I think it's pretty good, the NEVE 2254, because it's a situation where you actually get a couple more modern controls. I want to talk about bus compression. Oftentimes people say, "Oh, bus compression, that's the secret. That's the the Elmers. That's the gorilla. That's gonna glue everything together. That's that adhesive that's gonna make your whole mix stick together." When for me, I don't think that's the case. I think the way to get your music glued together is by understanding it's a mindset. The sounds you pick, the 808, the kick, the vocal, the way you're doing the processing, having thing that is cohesive. It's kind of like a situation where you painting the house. Sometimes some people are like, well, the living room is white, so let's make the bathroom white, let's make the kitchen white, so it's all cohesive, so the house, the design is all glued together. So I like the NEVE 2254 because it has this creamy type of ice cream that's melted type of sound to it. Very creamy and very rich. And with this song, he's talking about love and everything. Shout out to the artist. I'm gonna link him. So I like to use something like the NEVE 2254. So let's understand, this is the compressor section and this is kind of like the limiter section, and I kind of like to use both of them together. But the UAD is a little bit better, kind of gives me that high pass filter so that the compressor isn't looking at that big old booty, which is the kick and the 808 that might overload this compressor. That's not what we want from this compressor. It's an old compressor. Sometimes those analog bus compressors are not as responsive to modern music. You know, a lot of times modern music is a lot of quick, and maybe the beat and the 808, you know, you have those triplet rolls and stuff like that. You know, that's why sometimes you want to think about the drum pattern of the music, the drum pattern of the 2-track beat as you're selecting your bus compressor. So let's look at this. Let's look at my VU2 as well. So let's look how it's kind of bouncing around, mostly reacting to just the kick, adding a little bit of that creaminess to this song.
You calling him, no answer. A text with no reply. He ignores you, takes you for granted. I hear your cries. Ya no llores por ese ignorante. Es un cobarde. Perdido tiempo no puede comprarte. I know you tired of the lies, the excuses. The truth is the love that you giving him, he abuses. Es tu prometido. Y solamente te pido que no recibas a pedido de ese caso perdido. He online flexing to get attention. He thirsting. We offline sex in another session with no protection. Ma yo quiero probarte and my intention is yo poder un día robarte.
When your nights get lonely and you know he.
So you see that I'm hardly doing any compression. More of what I'm using this for is kind of like the sound of the diode bridge. This is a diode bridge compressor, you know. Another one is the Chandler Germanium, you know, the Chandler Zener Limiter. Those are diode bridge compressors. So the NEVE 2254, I think it was one of the first diode bridge compressors, and you hear is really just giving me swag. And that's how I go about picking my bus compression. You know, I don't just say, oh, well, I just need my mix to be glue, so I'll just slap on the SSLG. I know the SSLG has a warm sound. I know an API 2500 has a Mike Tyson, Conor McGregor inside the cut type of, you know, punchy sound. You know what I mean? Uppercut type of jab steps type of sound to it. It's very punchy, very hard hitting. So that's kind of my mindset when I pick a bus compressor. What am I looking for? Okay, what is the song already telling me? He's talking about when you're nice. He's doing all that sweet talking. He's doing that swag. So because I want to be cohesive, because the house already has, you know, white walls, I'm trying to make everything else, you know, match it. I will pick a bus compressor that kind of has that same type of swag and, well, that same type of vibe specifically. So the 2254, I picked it because it has swag. So the ratio, I use the ratio of 1.5, which is kind of working a little bit more on the whole overall, you know, signal. If I was to make the ratio go up a little bit higher, you would see that the kick would start to be what's pushing the bus compressor, because now kind of like the ratio, the way the shape of the compression, the envelope of the compression is changing. I like the fact that it also has the pull, and I want to talk about the release times for bus compressors like this. All right, so listen. A lot of these bus compressors, these analog model bus compressors, it's a situation where they might be too slow. They might just be a little too slow, like that one kid in that classroom that just don't get it. Sometimes these bus compressors, just like your grandma's kind of old, she's kind of a little slow to hear. Sometimes them old ass bus compressors, them old dusty ass bus compressors, they be a little slow. They be a little slow to react to the material, right? So that's what you want to understand as well. Listen to the release time. Does it feel like something is sluggish? Does it start to feel like a snail? Do you start to feel like you're losing a little bit of energy? Sometimes that's good too. With this song, I want it to be laid back a little bit. And a lot of the times, those first compressors have slower releases. But this plugin is good though, because it allows division 8. So that means that everything is being divided by 8, pretty much outside of the auto, which we know that's automatic. But again, that division of 8, right? It's allowing me to have a faster release time that will be able to keep up with this song. So that's something that you have to look at the tempo. The tempo here is 138. Also, the flow of the rapper as well will kind of tell you like how fast you want the compressor to release. You want it to be grooving. You want the bus compressor to do the cha-cha. You want it to do the tango. You want it to move and dance with the music. That's what you want from the bus compressor. And I used a little bit of limiting as well, which is good too. Actually, I don't think I used the limiting. No, I turned off the limiting. So the compressor is on slow. In general, even if you put it on fast, throwback compressor is gonna kind of have the characteristics of slow attack and slow release. So even though it says fast, it's not as fast as like an 1176 or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's pretty much what we have right here. And of course, it has a dope little dry wet knob. So let's look at the Waves V comp. The Waves V comp comes with the Waves Gold bundle. And I fought with the Waves V comp a lot too, because you know it has like a de-esser in it. Maybe you have a harsh mix, you want to just click the de-esser, or even if you put this on a vocal and you click de-esser, it has a way of also smoothing out that top end. But I used you know, maybe like a ratio of 2, just because I didn't have a way to actually have like the sidechain filter on this one. So sometimes, you know, you might have two, you might want to have more than one emulation of the same plugin because the other one has more features. But let's listen to how this one sounds.
Take it off and take it out on me.
You calling him, no answer. A text with no reply. He ignores you, takes you for granted. I hear your cries. Ya no llores por ese ignorante. Es un cobarde. Perdido tiempo no puede comprarte. I know you tired of the lies, the excuses. The truth is the love that you giving him, he abuses. Es tu prometido. Y solamente te pido que no recibas a pedido de ese caso perdido. He online flexing to get attention. He thirsting. We offline sexing another session with no protection.
So in a situation like this, listen to the kick. That low end starts to shape a little bit because I actually brought in the limiter. So sometimes it's pretty good to use something like serial limiting, because maybe you don't want your last limiter to be working too hard. Maybe you don't want your last limiter to be attenuating 3 to 6 dB. You might want it to bring in a little bit of a hamburger helping a hand for another limiter in front of it. And, you know, it's pretty good because this one has a slow attack and kind of like a quick release. You could even put it on auto. But most importantly, with the NEVE 2254, I'm looking for warmth. It's bringing a lot of warmth. It's actually making the whole mix sit back a little bit. You know, before the mix was kind of like up like this, kind of like sitting like to attention, but maybe you can use your bus compressor as a way to change the language, to change the idea of the whole song and make it sit back a little bit. But also always paying attention to those release times as well. You know, is it still bumping and grooving? Is it feeling like it's too slow, too sluggish to keep up with that kick in that 808? So I just want to say thank you so much for being a great part of my YouTube family. Just want to say, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also check out the Patreon for more super secret exclusive gems you can't get nowhere else. So I just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Appreciate you guys now. Peace.